The question is that the motion be agreed to. I call the member for Chifley.
Thanks, Madam Deputy Speaker. I note today a lot's been made about the front page of the Daily Telegraph when it comes to the vexed issue of Sydney's second airport. And a lot of people seem to suggest that the Prime Minister has decided that he has picked up on the concerns of Western Sydney and that he will now consult with people about the location of the second airport. I don't buy this for 1 minute. The Prime Minister is trying to extract himself and the government out of a home-baked mess, and that is that the people who within the coalition are spruiking for the creation of a second airport had been leaking and backgrounding for a solid period of time now about the fact that this airport would be constructed, even though last January the then opposition leader, now Prime Minister, said, and I quote, "We have absolutely no plans for a second airport at Badgerys Creek." And then last week we saw the suggestion splashed out across the papers that an airport decision would be made in Cabinet and it would be made this week. So to get himself out of it, the Prime Minister had to put together or cobble together this grouping of Western Sydney MPs that he was going to allegedly consult with about the airport. It's interesting that when in government, Labor, under then Minister Albanese, brought together a cross-party group to discuss the issue of airport needs. It was made up of members of the Coalition and it was made up of members of Labor. And in this one, we have the Prime Minister bringing together simply Liberal Party members to be consulted with. And what's interesting is that one of the members that will be most affected by the proposed airport based on previous plans, the member for McMahon, is not involved, but the member for Mitchell, who's at least 3 or 4 electorates away, has been brought in. I note that the member for Reid is potentially going to be brought in, who's 3 or 4 electorates away from the site, and he's going to be brought into it too. And I wouldn't be surprised if they put the member for Barton in, but the member for Barton doesn't even know what side of the chamber he's sitting on, so I don't know what he'll bring in terms of consultations on the location of an airport if he can't locate his own self on the right side of the chamber. What gets me going is that if you're going to be fair dinkum about this, you're going to broaden the debate out and you're going to involve people in this decision. And you're not going to have this decision rammed through the people of Western Sydney. What I'm interested to hear too is this suggestion, the cajoling and the bullying that's going on of Western Sydney right now on this issue of the airport. We're being told that the economic development and growth of Sydney is being affected because Badgerys Creek has not been built. Now, if people are serious about that, why is there no discussion, for instance, on the curfew that exists around Sydney Airport, around the caps that are put on the hourly basis, the number of flights that are allowed in every hour at Sydney Airport? We've sunk all this money into the infrastructure there. We have airlines that want to be based there, and we have the fact that passengers want to be close to the CBD of Sydney, and no thought has been given to increase the number of flights allowed per hour or the bandwidth in which they're allowed to land at Sydney Airport, but we're being told that we can put in millions and potentially billions of dollars into this airport in Western Sydney and that we've got to cop that development without looking at the funds to be made. What's interesting too is the rumours around the place are Qantas are going to be cutting more jobs out. Qantas is under all sorts of pressure. We don't have money for SPC, we don't have money for Holden, but we have money to help Qantas potentially by providing a 24-hour-a-day airport right in the middle of Western Sydney. But coincidentally, there's money to be found to reduce aircraft noise for the member for North Sydney and his North Shore and southern area MPs, but they'll force an airport the size of Brisbane out in Western Sydney. And it is simply not good enough. The people of Western Sydney have been insulted with the lack of consultation around this airport. Their MPs aren't being involved, and this group that's been brought together by the Prime Minister has been brought together simply to ram through a decision within his own party room on this airport and break a promise that Tony Abbott, the Prime Minister, made when he said he had absolutely no plans, and the people of Western Sydney, especially those that are represented by the member for Lindsay, the member for Macarthur and the Labor members that exist in Western Sydney will be railroaded, and the wishes of Western Sydney will be denied.